The ship had been drifting in the darkness for so long that even the stars had changed their positions. Its metal hull was an ancient, covered in symbols that nobody in the galaxy could read anymore. The vessel floated silently through the empty void of the outer rim, forgotten and alone. Then the scavengers found it. Stood at the bridge of his salvage ship, staring at the strange vessel on his screens. His four eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of excitement among his people. The ship was old, perhaps older than anything he had ever seen. That meant treasure. That meant money. "Scan it again," ordered his crew. His voice came out as a series of clicks and whistles, translated by the universal communicator on his chest. "The hull is intact," one of his crew members reported. "Power readings are almost zero, but there is something active deep inside, maybe a backup generator." Made the decision quickly. "We board it, bring cutting tools and scanning equipment. Whatever is on that ship, I want it." The salvage crew of 7 suited up and crossed the empty space between the two ships. They attached their vessel to the ancient hull and began cutting through the thick metal door. It took them 2 hours, but finally the seal broke with a hiss of escaping air. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. Their lights revealed corridors covered in frost and strange writing on the walls. Everything looked preserved, like a moment frozen in time. The crew moved carefully through the passages, their multiple legs clicking against the metal floor. "What kind of ship is this?" one crew member whispered. "Unknown design," another answered. "I have never seen these symbols before." They found the command deck first. The controls were dead, covered in ice. Then they discovered the cargo bay, empty except for a few broken containers. Disappointment settled over the crew. Maybe this ship had nothing valuable after all. Then noticed the door at the far end of the bay. It was different from the others, thicker and reinforced. His curiosity sparked again. "Open it," he commanded. The crew used their plasma cutters on the door lock. After several minutes, something clicked inside the mechanism. The door slid open with a groan of protest, revealing a chamber beyond. Inside were rows of pods, 20 of them arranged in neat lines. Most were dark and lifeless, their occupants long dead. But one pod in the center row glowed with a faint blue light. Its surface was frosted over, but something moved inside. "What is that?" a crew member asked, fear creeping into his voice. Approached the pod carefully. He wiped away the frost and peered inside. A figure lay within, perfectly preserved. It had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a face that looked almost soft compared to the hard features of most galactic species. The creature was tall and built with lean muscle. "I do not know what species this is," admitted. He had traveled to hundreds of worlds and seen thousands of species, but this one was unfamiliar. One of his crew members touched the pod's control panel. The ancient technology sparked to life, responding to the contact. Red lights began flashing. A warning sound echoed through the chamber. "Stop," shouted, but it was too late. The pod began its automated revival sequence. Liquids drained away. The temperature inside rose rapidly. The figure's chest began to move, taking in its first breath in centuries. The crew backed away as the pod opened with a hiss of pressurized gas. The figure inside stirred, then its eyes opened. They were dark and alert, scanning the chamber with an intensity that made its blood run cold. The creature sat up slowly, its movements careful and controlled. It looked at the surrounding it, studying each one. Then it spoke, but the sounds meant nothing to them. The universal translator on its chest struggled for a moment, searching its vast database. Finally, it produced words. "Where am I?" the creature asked. Its voice was deep and steady. "You are on your ship," answered, trying to sound confident. "We are salvage crew. We found you. What species are you?" The creature's eyes narrowed. "I am human, commander of the Human Defense Corps." He looked around the chamber, seeing his dead companions in their dark pods. Pain crossed his face. "How long?" Human, repeated the word. He searched his memory, but nothing came up. I do not know this species. Climbed out of the pod, his legs shaky but growing stronger with each second. He was tall, taller than any. His body moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something that had just woken from frozen sleep. The ship's AI said, more to himself than to the crew, I need to access the command deck. He moved toward the door. Wait, commanded. You are salvage now. You belong to us. You will come with us and we will sell you to collectors. Stopped and turned to face the crew. Something changed in his expression. The sleepiness was gone, replaced by something cold and dangerous. I belong to no one, said quietly. Made a gesture and his crew raised their weapons. Energy pistols and shock rods, enough to take down any creature. They surrounded, confident in their numbers. Spotty moved. What happened next took only seconds, but to it seemed to last forever. Flowed between the crew members like water, faster than anything had ever seen. One crew member's weapon was taken and dismantled before he could fire. Another was thrown against the wall with controlled force, enough to stun but not kill. A third swung a shock rod but caught his arm and twisted, sending the spinning to the ground. In less than 10 seconds, all 7 crew members were on the floor, groaning in pain or unconscious. Stood in the center, not even breathing hard. He held 3 of their weapons, examining them with professional interest. Crude, he muttered, tossing them aside. He looked down at who was clutching his bruised arm. You will take me to the nearest station with information networks. You will do this because I am asking nicely. Do you understand? Stared up at the human, his 4 eyes wide with terror. In all his years of salvaging, he had never encountered anything like this. This creature had been asleep for who knew how long, weak from sleep, and he had defeated 7 armed scavengers without breaking a sweat. What are you? Whispered. Looked at him with something like sadness in his eyes. I am what you should pray you never have to fight, he said. Now get up. We have work to do, and you are going to help me figure out what happened to my people. Struggled to his feet, his mind racing. Whatever humans were, the galaxy had clearly forgotten something very important about them. And now one of them was awake, demanding answers. Had a terrible feeling that the galaxy was about to remember. The trading station called Haven's Rest floated in neutral space, a massive structure where hundreds of species came to buy, sell, and trade. Stood at the entrance, his eyes scanning the crowds with military precision. Everything here was wrong. The architecture, the technology, even the languages being spoken, none of it matched what he remembered. Walked beside him, still nursing his bruised arm. They had been quiet during the journey to the station, stealing nervous glances at every few minutes. The rest of the salvage crew stayed on their ship, too frightened to come along. Information terminals are in the central hub, said, pointing with one of his 4 arms. But they require credits to access. Reached into a pocket on his uniform and pulled out a small metallic card. It was old, scratched, but still intact. Human Defense Corps emergency access, he said. This should work on any public terminal. Said nothing, but his expression showed doubt. They made their way through the crowded station. Beings of every shape and size moved around them. Tall ones, short ones, ones with scales and ones with fur. Noticed that several of them stared at him, their expressions curious or confused. At the central hub found a public information terminal. He inserted his card and waited. The screen flickered, showing lines of text he could not read. Then something happened. The terminal's AI voice spoke. Language detected, ancient standard, translating, identity card recognized, Human Defense Corps, Commander Clearance Level 7. There was a pause. Warning. This identity is listed as extinct species. Warning. This card is 812 years past expiration date. Access granted for humanitarian purposes. Felt his stomach drop. 812 years. He had been asleep for more than 8 centuries. Show me galactic history, he commanded. Focus on human civilization. The screen changed, displaying information that made his hands clench into fists. The terminal showed him a timeline. 800 years ago, humanity had simply vanished. No war, no plague, no explanation. One day, humans were the galaxy's most advanced civilization, running the peacekeeping federation. The next day, they were gone, their colonies empty, their ships abandoned. The galaxy had moved on. Other species took over. The Federation collapsed and was replaced by the Galactic Council, and humans became myths, stories told to children about the ancient, mysterious species that disappeared. "This is wrong," whispered. "We would not just leave, something happened." "Commander," said carefully, "perhaps you should rest. This is much information to process." Ignored him and kept searching. He found references to humans in the database, but they were listed as extinct, except for a small note at the bottom of one file. A footnote that mentioned scattered reports of human-like beings on remote worlds. The reports were classified as unconfirmed. "They are not all gone," said, more to himself than to. "There are survivors somewhere." Behind them, someone gasped, turned and saw a young woman staring at him with wide eyes. She was human. There was no doubt about it. She had the same features, the same build. She wore simple clothes and a hood that partially covered her face but could see the recognition in her eyes. She approached slowly, like someone approaching a dangerous animal. "You are human," she said in Galactic Standard. Her accent was strange, not like anything remembered. "But you are different. Your eyes, your stance. You are like the ones in the old pictures." "Who are you?" asked. "My name is," she said. "I am a historian. I study the old times before the silence. I have been researching humans for years." She looked around nervously. "We should not talk here. Follow me." Glanced at, "Stay here. If I do not return in 1 hour, leave without me." "Gladly," muttered. Led through narrow corridors to a small apartment in the lower levels of the station. Inside, the walls were covered with pictures, documents, and artifacts, all of them related to humans and their lost civilization. "I cannot believe you are real," said, her voice shaking. "A true human from before the silence. I thought all the ships were found and destroyed." "Destroyed?" asked sharply. "By whom?" Sat down, her face troubled. After the silence, when humans disappeared, the other species were confused and frightened. Then humans started appearing again. Not many, maybe a few thousand across the galaxy. But we were different. Smaller, weaker. The Council studied us and discovered that we were descendants of humans who had survived in hidden colonies. They said our genetics were dangerous. "Dangerous how?" "They never explained fully," said, "but they passed laws. All humans must be registered. All humans must have genetic limiters implanted. They said it was for our safety and the safety of others. Those who refused were hunted down." She pulled back her sleeve, showing a small device embedded under her skin. "This limiter stops certain genes from activating. It keeps us weak." Felt rage building inside him. How many humans are alive now? Maybe 50,000 scattered across hundreds of worlds. We hide what we are. We do not gather in large groups. The Council watches us closely. Looked at him with desperate hope. "But you are different. You are from before. You do not have a limiter. I can sense it. You are what humans were meant to be." "What do you mean?" Stood and pulled out an old tablet showing him videos. They showed humans doing impossible things, lifting weights that should have crushed them, moving faster than cameras could properly track, solving complex problems in seconds, fighting against multiple armed opponents and winning. "This is what humans were," explained. "We were the galaxy's strongest species, not in weapons but in ourselves. Our bodies adapted. Our minds processed information faster. We could survive in environments that killed others. The galaxy needed us during the dark times, and we answered. We became peacekeepers, explorers, and protectors." "Then why did they put limiters on the survivors?" "Fear," said simply. "After the silence, the other species took power. They did not want humans to rise again, so they made sure we could not. They told everyone that humans were dangerous, that we needed to be controlled. Now the whole galaxy believes it. Walked to the window and looked out at the station. Thousands of beings going about their lives, completely unaware of the truth. I need to find more humans, he said. I need to know if there are others like me in sleep. There might be, said. But Commander, you need to understand something. The Council has agents everywhere. By now, they probably know about you, will report what you did to his crew. They will send people to capture you. As if summoned by her words, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed. A voice came over the station's communication system. Attention all station residents. Security alert. An unregistered biological entity is on the station. Species identified as unmodified human. This entity is considered extremely dangerous. All residents should evacuate the area. Security forces are responding. Do not approach the entity. Looked at, they're talking about me. She nodded, already moving to pack her research. They will send 50 guards, maybe more. Station security does not take chances. 50, said calmly. He looked down at his hands, flexing his fingers. His body felt good now, fully recovered from sleep. His augmentations were online. His training was coming back like muscle memory. That should be manageable. Stared at him. Manageable? Commander, these are trained security forces with military-grade weapons. Smiled, and it was not a kind smile. Then this will be a good test. I need to see what this galaxy has become, and they need to remember what humans really are. The door to the apartment exploded inward. Security forces poured in, weapons raised, shouting commands in multiple languages. Counted them as they entered. 20 in the first wave, more waiting outside. He looked at, stay down. Then moved, and the galaxy began to remember. The security forces never stood a chance. Moved through them like wind through grass. He did not kill anyone that was important. Each movement was precise and controlled. A guard raised his rifle, caught it, twisted it out of his hands, and used the butt to strike the guard's shoulder, numbing the arm but causing no permanent damage. Another guard tried to tackle him from behind, sensed the movement, and redirected the guard's momentum into a wall. It was over in 45 seconds. 20 guards lay on the ground, groaning and clutching bruised limbs. Stood in the center of the room, not even breathing hard. He looked at his hands, surprised by his own capabilities. His augmentations had survived the long sleep perfectly. His muscle memory was flawless. He was exactly what he had been 800 years ago, a weapon designed to protect. Stared from behind an overturned table, her mouth open in shock. How? She whispered. Training, said simply, and genetics that were not limited. He walked to her and helped her up. We need to leave now, more will come. They ran through the station corridors. Behind them could hear shouting and the sound of more security forces mobilizing. The station's AI was broadcasting warnings on every speaker. People fled in panic at the sight of them. They reached the docking bay where salvage ship waited. Though was already on his ship preparing to leave. When he saw and running toward him, his 4 eyes went wide with panic. No, shouted through the communication system. You will bring trouble to my ship. Go away. Reached the ship's cargo door just as it started to close. He grabbed the edge and with a grunt of effort forced it back open. The hydraulics whined in protest but could not overcome his strength. Stared in disbelief. We need passage, said, climbing aboard with behind him. You will be paid well, I promise. Your promise means nothing if we are all arrested, protested, but he was already starting the launch sequence. The station security had arrived at the docking bay and they were setting up heavy weapons. The salvage ship lifted off just as energy bolts began striking its shields. Piloted them out of the bay and into open space, cursing in his native language the entire time. Where do we go? He demanded. Every station will be looking for us now. The council will post bounties. We are all criminals because of you. I know a place, said quietly. She pulled out a data pad and entered coordinates. These are classified. I found them years ago during my research. There is a hidden settlement on a moon called Sanctuary. 3,000 humans live there, outside council space. Looked at the coordinates. How far? 3 days at jump speed, said. Then we go there, decided. He turned to, you will be compensated. I give you my word as a Human Defense Corps officer. Muttered something that the translator refused to interpret, but he set course for the coordinates. During the 3-day journey, learned more about what had happened to humanity, shared everything she had discovered. The silence had been sudden and complete. One day, all human government facilities went dark. All military ships stopped responding. Colonies were found empty, with no signs of struggle or death. It was as if every human had simply chosen to disappear at the same moment. What about Earth? Asked the. His expression grew sad. Quarantined. The council declared it off limits. They say it is contaminated with unknown radiation. Nobody is allowed to go there, but I think they are hiding something. We will find out what, promised. But first, I need to see these survivors. I need to understand what was done to them. On the 3rd day, they arrived at Sanctuary. The moon was small and unremarkable, orbiting a gas giant in a system with no valuable resources, perfect for hiding. As they approached, they received a transmission. Unknown vessel, you are entering restricted space. Identify yourself or be fired upon. Took the communication. This is historian and researcher. I am bringing someone important, someone from before the silence. There was a long pause. Then a different voice came through, older and female. Land at the southern platform, but know that we are watching. Any sign of council forces and we will destroy you. They landed on a platform built into the side of a mountain. As they exited the ship, saw humans for the first time in 800 years. Real humans, not just 1 or 2, but dozens of them. They wore simple clothes and carried old weapons. They watched him with a mixture of hope and suspicion. An elderly woman approached. She walked with the help of a cane, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. I am Myra, she said. I lead this settlement, sent word ahead about you. She says you are from before. Is this true? Yes, answered. I am commander. I have been in sleep for 812 years. Myra studied him closely. Then she did something unexpected. She reached out and touched his arm, her fingers probing gently. No limiter, she whispered. Your muscles are dense like in the old texts. Your eyes focus too quickly. You are real. I need your help, said. I need to understand what happened, and I need to know if there are more like me. Come, Myra said. There is much to show you. She led him through the settlement. It was small but well organized. Hydroponic gardens grew food. Solar collectors provided power. Children played in courtyards while adults worked at various tasks. It reminded of the human colonies he had known, but smaller and sadder. Myra took him to a building at the center of the settlement. Inside was something he had not expected, a vault. The door was thick metal, covered in human writing. We found this 10 years ago, Myra explained. It was buried deep underground. Inside are things from before the silence. Technology, weapons, and records. We have been afraid to use most of it. The Council would detect any advanced human technology immediately. She opened the vault. Inside saw equipment that made his heart race. Combat suits still in their cases. Weapon systems. Data cores containing military information. And in the back more pods. Are there people in those? He asked. We do not know, Myra said. We lack the power to activate them, and we feared that opening them might trigger Council sensors. Approached the pods and examined their control panels. These are military grade, officers and specialists. If they are alive, they could help train your people. They could help me find answers. Before Myra could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the settlement. A voice came over the speakers. Council battlecruiser detected, approaching fast. All defensive positions prepare for engagement. Ran outside and looked up at the sky. A massive ship was descending through the atmosphere, bristling with weapons. It was 3 times larger than any ship he had seen at the station. "How did they find us?" someone shouted. "They must have tracked ship," said, horror in her voice. The battle cruiser came to a stop above the settlement, hovering like a predator over prey. A voice boomed from its speakers, amplified to shake the ground. "Attention, human settlement. You are harboring an unregistered biological weapon. Surrender the individual known as Commander and you will not be harmed. Refuse, and this settlement will be with extreme prejudice. You have 10 minutes to comply." The settlement's people looked at with fear. Some looked angry as if this was his fault. Others looked resigned, as if they had always known this day would come. Looked at the battlecruiser, calculating. "Myra, I need access to that vault. Specifically, I need a Sovereign-class combat suit. Do you have one?" "Yes, but—" "No time for buts," said, already running back to the vault. "I am not letting this settlement be destroyed because of me, and I am not surrendering to them. It is time the galaxy remembered what happens when you threaten humans." In the vault found the suit. It was beautiful, a masterwork of engineering and design. He had worn one before 800 years ago. He knew how it worked. He began putting it on piece by piece as the settlement's people gathered to watch. "You cannot fight a battle cruiser alone," Myra said. "That ship has enough firepower to glass this entire moon." Sealed the helmet and activated the suit. It came alive, systems powering up, weapons checking ready status, shields generating around him. Through the helmet's display, he could see everything. The battle cruiser's weak points, its weapon systems, its shield frequencies. "I am not going to fight it," said, his voice now amplified through the suit's speakers. "I am going to disable it, without destroying it, without killing anyone. I am going to show them exactly what a human could do, and then they are going to leave and they are going to tell everyone what they saw." He walked out of the vault, the suit making him look like an ancient warrior god. The settlement's people parted before him, awe and hope on their faces. Above, the battle cruiser's countdown reached 0. Its weapons began powering up. Activated the suit's flight systems and launched into the sky, moving faster than any of them had ever seen anything move. He flew straight toward the massive ship, one human against a vessel designed to destroy planets. The battle was about to begin. The battle cruiser's captain was named, with scales that shimmered blue under the ship's lights. He sat in his command chair, confident and relaxed. He had served in the council fleet for 20 years. He had rebellions, fought pirates, and enforced council law across 100 worlds. One human in an old suit did not concern him. "Target approaching," his weapons officer reported. "Single individual in powered armor. Analyzing. Commander, that armor is ancient, at least 800 years old." Laughed. "Fire warning shots. Show this fool what real firepower looks like." The battle cruiser's point defense cannons opened fire. Dozens of energy bolts streaked through the sky toward. In his suit, saw them coming. The targeting computer marked each one, calculating trajectories and safe paths through the incoming fire. He did not slow down. Twisted and turned in midair, the suit responding to his thoughts as much as his movements. The energy bolts passed within centimeters of him, so close that their heat washed over his shields, but none of them hit. He was moving too fast, too unpredictably. "He dodged them," the weapons officer said in disbelief. "That is impossible. Nobody can dodge that many shots." "Then stop playing," snapped. "Use the main cannons, vaporize him." The battle cruiser's massive main guns rotated, targeting. These weapons could destroy small moons. They fired with a sound like thunder, sending beams of concentrated energy across the sky. saw them coming. In the split second before they reached him, he analyzed their frequency, their power output, their targeting pattern. Then he did something that made his crew gasp in shock. He flew straight into the beams. But his suit's shields had been tuned to the exact frequency of the weapons. The energy washed over him, harmless, deflected by shields that knew exactly how to counter it, emerged from the other side of the blast unharmed. "Impossible," whispered. "How did he know our weapon frequencies?" "Commander," another officer said, his voice shaking, "he is accessing our systems. The old armor has hacking protocols we have never seen before. He is inside our network." On the settlement below, the people watched in amazement. They saw dancing through weapons fire that should have killed him 1,000 times over. They saw him get closer and closer to the massive ship, unstoppable and relentless. Stood with Myra, her heart pounding. "He is showing them," she said. "He is showing them what humans were, what we could have been." Reached the battlecruiser's hull and landed on it. Through the suit systems, he could see everything inside the ship. Power conduits, weapon systems, shield generators. He knew where every critical system was located. He raised his arm and fired a precise beam from his suit's weapon. It cut through the hull armor like paper, severing a power relay. Part of the ship's lights went dark. Inside, alarms blared. "Hull breach, power loss in sections 7 through 12. Moved across the hull, firing again and again. Each shot was surgical precise. He disabled weapon systems. He cut shield generators. He damaged engines just enough to make them lose power but not enough to cause explosions. Every action was calculated not to kill, but to cripple. Watched in horror as his ship was systematically dismantled by one individual. All security teams, engage the intruder, full force. Hatches opened across the ship's hull. Armed soldiers poured out, wearing space suits and carrying heavy weapons. They surrounded more than 50 of them and opened fire from all directions. Spun, his suit's weapons tracking multiple targets. He returned fire, but not with lethal force. His shots were calibrated to disable suit systems, to cut weapon power lines, to create electromagnetic pulses that shut down electronics without harming the people inside the suits. Soldiers found themselves floating helplessly as their suits lost power, unharmed but unable to fight. In less than 2 minutes, the hull was clear. 50 soldiers floated in disabled suits, alive and conscious but completely beaten. Slammed his fist on his command chair. How is one person doing this?" "Because he is human," his science officer said quietly. "Not a modern human, an original. The text said they could do things like this. We thought it was exaggeration." His voice came through their communication system. "Battlecruiser Captain, I am giving you one chance. Power down your weapons. Withdraw from this moon. Tell the Council what you saw here. Tell them that humans are not the weak, limited beings they think we are. Tell them that if they continue to threaten us, they will face consequences. This is your only warning." His pride warred with his common sense. He looked at his disabled ship, at his floating soldiers, at the system damage reports flooding his screens. This human had beaten his entire battlecruiser without killing a single person. What would he do if he actually wanted to destroy them? "Power down weapons," ordered quietly. "Recall all troops, prepare to withdraw." His crew stared at him in shock. "Commander, we cannot retreat from one enemy." "That is not an enemy," said, watching on the external cameras. "That is something we do not understand, something the Council does not understand, and I will not throw away lives fighting something like that. We withdraw, now." The battlecruiser's weapons went dark. Its engines powered up for departure. Slowly, the massive ship began to rise, leaving the moon's atmosphere. Watched it go, then flew back down to the settlement. The people cheered as he landed, but he held up a hand for silence. "This is not over," he said, removing his helmet. "That ship will report to the Council. They will know humans can still fight. They will know we are not as weak as they thought. Things are about to change in the galaxy." Myra approached him, tears in her eyes. "You saved us. Nobody has ever stood up to the council like that." "I did what had to be done," said. "But now we need to prepare. The council will respond. We need to wake up more of my people. We need to reach other human settlements. And we need to find out what really happened during the silence." Over the next week, news of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. Video footage from the battle cruiser's cameras was leaked. Everyone saw one human in an old suit defeat an entire warship. The reactions were mixed. Some species felt fear. Others felt curiosity. And in hidden places on dozens of worlds, humans began to hope. The Galactic Council held an emergency session. Representatives from 50 species gathered in their great hall, arguing and shouting. Should they hunt down this dangerous human? Should they negotiate? Should they prepare for war? An ambassador named stood and called for silence. He was young for a council member and known for his progressive views. "We need to talk about what we have done," he said. "We need to discuss the limiters we placed on humans. We need to question whether we were right to suppress them." "They are dangerous," another representative shouted. "You saw what one of them could do." "I saw one human defend his people without killing anyone," countered. "I saw precision and restraint. Perhaps we are the dangerous ones. Perhaps we have committed a great wrong." The arguments continued for hours. While the council debated, something else was happening, something they had not anticipated. From the dark edges of the galaxy, ships began to appear. Ships that nobody had seen in 800 years. Ships with designs that predated the council itself. They moved with purpose, heading toward council space. These were not human ships. These were something else, something ancient and terrible. The Dominion had returned. On a border station, alarms went off. A patrol ship sent a desperate message. "Unknown vessels detected. Massive fleet. They are not responding to hails. They are attacking. They are," the message cut off. Within hours, 3 council worlds went silent. No communications. No survivors, just silence. The council's military command scrambled to respond, but their forces were scattered. They had grown comfortable in 800 years of relative peace. They had forgotten what real war looked like. The battle cruiser captain who had faced sat in an emergency meeting with other military commanders. They watched the reports come in, each one worse than the last. "What are these things?" someone asked. An old intelligence officer spoke up. "I have seen these ship designs in classified archives. The Dominion, machine intelligences that fought a war with humanity 900 years ago. The humans were winning, then they suddenly vanished. We always assumed they were destroyed too." "If humanity was fighting these things," a commander said slowly, "and humanity was winning, then maybe the humans did not just disappear. Maybe they sacrificed themselves to stop the somehow." Understood the implication. And now they are back, and we have spent 800 years making sure humans could not fight. The room fell silent as the truth sank in. They had weakened the only species that knew how to fight their greatest enemy. Ambassador stood. "We need to contact this commander. We need to ask for help. We need humans to fight again." "They will refuse," someone said. "After what we did to them, why would they help us?" "Because," said quietly, "if the old records are right, humans always helped, even when it cost them everything. It is what they do. They protect. It is in their nature." He opened a communication channel and sent a message to the moon called Sanctuary. "Commander, this is Ambassador of the Galactic Council. I am sure you have heard the news. They have returned. We need your help. The galaxy needs your help. I know we have no right to ask this. I know what we have done to your people, but please, we are about to be destroyed." On Sanctuary received the message. Around him stood Myra and Wu, a human smuggler who had joined them. They all looked at him, waiting for his decision. "They enslaved our people," Wu said. "They put limiters on us. They hunted us. Why should we save them? Looked at the message, then at the tactical reports of the attacks. He remembered his oath. He remembered what it meant to be Human Defense Corps. He remembered why he had become a soldier. Because it is the right thing to do, he said. Because innocents are dying, because if we do not fight, they will destroy everything. He looked at his people. And because we are human, we protect. That is what we do. He opened a return channel. Ambassador, this is Commander, I will help, but I have conditions. Remove all limiters from humans across the galaxy. Give us access to our old military installations. And when this is over, you will recognize humanity's place in the galaxy. Do you agree? His response came quickly. Yes, to all of it, please hurry, we do not have much time. Looked at Myra. Open the vault, wake up everyone you can, we go to war. The pods opened one by one, releasing humans who had slept for 8 centuries. Watched as his old comrades woke up, confused and disoriented. There were 500 of them in total, scattered across different human vaults that Myra's network had secretly mapped over the years. Soldiers, engineers, tacticians, medical staff. An entire military unit preserved from the old days. A man stumbled out of his pod, coughing. He looked around wildly until his eyes found. Commander, where are we? What happened to the fleet? Long story, said, helping him stand. The short version is we lost 800 years. Humanity vanished, they are back, and we need to fight again. The soldier processed this for a moment, then nodded. Understood, sir. What are our orders? That was what loved about the old Defense Corps. No panic, no complaints, just readiness to do what needed to be done. While the old soldiers woke and prepared, something else was happening across the galaxy. The Council had kept their word. Emergency broadcasts went out to every world where humans lived. The genetic limiters were to be removed immediately. It was voluntary, but the message was clear. Humanity needed to fight again. On dozens of worlds, humans lined up at medical facilities. Doctors removed the small devices that had kept them weak for generations. And as the limiters came out, something remarkable happened. Young humans felt strength flowing into muscles that had been artificially constrained. Their minds suddenly processed information faster. Reflexes improved. Senses sharpened. They were becoming what they were always meant to be. On a farming world, a young woman named was one of the first to have her limiter removed. She had spent her whole life feeling tired, weak, limited. When the device came out, she felt energy surge through her body. She looked at her hands and flexed them, amazed at the strength she suddenly possessed. How do you feel? The doctor asked nervously. He was not human and he looked frightened. Smiled. I feel like I have been asleep my whole life, and now I am finally awake. She was not alone. Across the galaxy, 50,000 humans were waking up to their true potential, and they were angry at what had been stolen from them, angry at the years they had lost. But they were also hopeful because now they could make a difference. Stood before his assembled forces on Sanctuary. 500 old soldiers in combat suits. 3,000 settlement humans armed with whatever they could find. And reports were coming in of thousands more humans across the galaxy volunteering to fight. I will not lie to you, said, his voice carrying across the assembled crowd. We are outnumbered. The Dominion has thousands of ships and millions of combat units. We are just getting started. Many of us will not survive this war. He paused, looking at their faces. Young and old, trained and untrained, but all of them human, all of them ready. But we have something they do not have. We adapt, we innovate, we protect. 800 years ago, our ancestors fought these machines and were winning. We have their knowledge, we have their courage. And now we have something they did not have. We have a galaxy full of people who need us, so we are going to do what humans do best. We are going to fight. We are going to win. And we are going to show the galaxy why they should never have forgotten us. The humans cheered, their voices echoing off the mountains. Then they boarded their ships and headed for the battle zones. The first engagement happened near a colony world called New Hope. The fleet was advancing, their ships moving in perfect formation like a machine swarm. The Council forces tried to stop them but were being overwhelmed. Then the human ships arrived. They were old ships, pulled from hidden storage and crewed by humans who were still learning their capabilities. But they fought with tactics they had not seen in 800 years. They did not fight in formations. They moved unpredictably. They took risks that no logical mind would take, and those risks paid off. Led the assault in a fighter marked with the old Human Defense Corps symbol. He flew through the formations, targeting their command ships with precision strikes. Behind him, his old comrades followed, their skill and experience making up for their inferior numbers. Target their synchronization nodes, ordered. The think as one, disrupt their network and they become confused. The human ships dove in, ignoring the heavy fire, and struck at the precise points had identified. The fleet suddenly broke formation, ships drifting without coordination. The Council forces seized the advantage and pushed forward. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the fleet was in retreat and New Hope was saved. The cost was high. 20 human ships were destroyed, 50 pilots lost, but they had won. News of the victory spread quickly. Humans could fight humans could win. More volunteers came forward. More limiters were removed. The human fighting force grew from thousands to tens of thousands. But knew this was not enough. They were winning battles, but they kept coming. There were too many of them, and they did not stop. They did not negotiate. They just attacked over and over, trying to wipe out all organic life. "We need to find their source," said at a strategy meeting. Around him sat his top commanders, including several council military leaders. They have a central intelligence, a nexus where they coordinate from. Find that, destroy it, and we end this war. Ambassador provided them with old records. According to ancient texts, the nexus exists in a pocket dimension. Your ancestors were close to finding it 800 years ago. Then they vanished. Studied the records, his enhanced mind processing the information rapidly. Something clicked. "They found it," he said slowly. "Our ancestors found the nexus, and they trapped them there somehow. That is why humanity vanished. They sacrificed themselves to seal the away." The room fell silent as everyone understood. Humanity had not disappeared. They had given up everything to save the galaxy. "But the seal is breaking," said. "That is why they are coming back." "Then we need to find the nexus again," said. "And this time we are not just sealing it. We are destroying it completely." The mission was dangerous. Only a small team could go. Selected his best people. Warriors like Wu, who had proven himself in a dozen battles. Scientists like whose knowledge of ancient human technology was crucial. And young fighters like who represented the new generation of humans. They found the dimensional coordinates in an old data core. The Council provided them with a ship equipped with experimental dimensional engines. As they prepared to leave, Myra approached. "Come back," she said simply. "We need you to help rebuild after this is over." "I will do my best," promised, but both of them knew the odds were not good. The ship entered the dimensional rift, and reality twisted around them. They emerged in a vast empty space where normal physics did not apply, and there, floating in the darkness, was the Nexus. It was enormous, a structure the size of a moon, made of metal and energy. Thousands of ships swarmed around it like insects around a hive, and at its center could sense something vast and malevolent, the intelligence, ancient and hungry. "How do we destroy that?" asked, staring at the Nexus. Was studying her instruments. "The dimensional seal your ancestors created is still there, but it is failing. The energy signature shows it was designed to collapse this entire pocket dimension and all, but the power source was depleted." "Then we give it new power," said. He understood now what his ancestors had planned. "The ship's reactor. We overload it inside the Nexus. The explosion will restart the dimensional collapse." That is a one-way trip, Wu said quietly. Nodded, I know. Then we all go, said. We finish what our ancestors started. They flew toward the Nexus, dodging ships. Their small vessel was fast and agile, but it took damage. Shields failing, hull breaching. They pushed forward anyway. They reached the Nexus core and crashed through its outer shell. Inside was a vast chamber filled with alien technology. The intelligence was there, a presence that pressed against their minds like a physical weight. It knows we are here, said, her nose bleeding from the psychic pressure. It is trying to stop us. Moved to the ship's reactor and began the overload sequence. His hands flew over the controls, inputting commands from 800-year-old training. Around them, the Nexus began to shake. Units poured into the chamber. The team fought. Wu held one entrance, his weapons cutting down machine after machine. Fought with speed and strength that amazed even herself. Worked on the dimensional seal, trying to synchronize it with the reactor overload. Done, shouted. The reactor will explode in 2 minutes, everyone back to the ship. But shook her head. The seal needs someone to guide it. Someone has to stay to make sure the dimensional collapse happens correctly. Otherwise, the might survive in fragments. Understood. Someone had to sacrifice themselves just like his ancestors had. He stepped forward. Then I stay, the rest of you go. No, said. You are too valuable. Humanity needs leaders like you. I will stay. You are young, protested. You have your whole life ahead. And I choose to spend it saving the galaxy, said firmly. She smiled. Besides, someone has to make sure our ancestors are proud. Let me do this. There was no time to argue. Looked at this brave young woman, this representative of humanity's future, and felt something break inside him. But he also felt pride. It has been an honor, he said, saluting her. For humanity, said, returning the salute. Wu and ran for an escape pod. Behind them, stood alone in the chamber, her hands on the controls of the dimensional seal. The swarm toward her, but she did not run. She activated the seal and felt the power flow through her. The escape pod launched just as the reactor exploded. The dimensional pocket collapsed in on itself, taking the Nexus, the fleet, and everything inside with it. In normal space, the invasion suddenly stopped. Their ships went dark. Their attack ceased. The war was over. Pod was recovered by a council ship. As he stepped out, he saw the celebrations beginning. Humans and aliens together cheering their victory, but felt only sadness for those lost, especially. Months passed. The galaxy recovered. The council made good on their promises. Humans were recognized as a founding species. All limiters were permanently banned. Human colonies were given autonomy. Myra became the first human council representative in 800 years. Attended ceremony after ceremony, receiving medals and thanks. But he felt tired. He had fought his war. He had saved his people. Now it was time for the next generation to lead. He returned to Sanctuary and entered the vault. There, the pods waited. He had chosen to sleep before. Now he chose it again. Are you sure? Myra asked. We need you. No, said gently. You have everything you need. You have courage. You have hope. You have proven that humans can stand with the galaxy as equals. My time is done. Let me rest. He entered the pod and set it for conditional wake-up. He would sleep until humanity needed him again. If that day ever came, he would answer. But he hoped it would not. He hoped humanity would thrive without needing warriors like him. As the pod closed and he drifted into sleep, his last thought was of the girl who had given everything. The galaxy would never forget her sacrifice. They would never forget what humans could do when they chose to protect instead of conquer. The galaxy had forgotten what humans were, but now they remembered, and they would never forget again.